There we go. I have everything ready to go. So I'm going to wait. Hi, Amber. You made it early. I'm going to wait till everyone joins, just a couple minutes. I got the notification on my end. So how are you all tonight? I'm doing well. I came to the church so I would have no distractions. I'm going to be doing a lot of screen sharing tonight. So I want you all to see all the research that I put into this. I put a lot of research into this. If you indeed want the email that I have all of the links on it, I can send you the email. Just leave a comment or private message me, email me, tell me your email address, and I will send you the email with all the links that I have on here. So welcome Amanda and Shara and Haley. And I already said hi to Amber. So glad you guys are here. I'm hoping that this show really gets a lot of attention, not for anything other than I want this news out there. I want the news out there of just the harmful effects of the birth control pill and everything that they cause to go wrong in your body. I have a lot of emails of ladies that have taken the pill in the past or hormonal birth control things. And I'm sorry, I'm like reading as I'm talking. I have a lot of testimonials. So I am going to be reading those off. So this might go a little bit longer. I'm hoping not, but I'm going to try to get it all wrapped up in one. There's a lot to talk about. No, Kirsten, it is not a Milky Maw dress. It's just a shirt I'm wearing a shirt and a skirt. So, okay, Haley, just showed your email. Yes. Just afterwards, just email me and then I can just forward you the email to write to your email address of all the links and everything that, that I have, all the links of all the research. I have a lot of windows open right now on my thing. So I wanted to, first of all, just kind of tell you why I decided to do this. I was actually last week, there was a girl from my youth group when my husband was a youth leader for about 10 years. And she's special to me. I watched her grow up. She was in our youth group, went to tons of teen activities with her. And she's been very, very ill. The last couple of weeks, she has irritable bowel disease. There's irritable bowel syndrome. She has irritable bowel disease. So, you know, I was thinking about it. I was putting all the pieces together and she's been in the hospital. She has a newborn baby, or he's like 6 months old. And she was separated from him this whole time. She just could not keep anything down from this irritable bowel disease. She was coming out both ends and she's lost 15 pounds and she's already like 105 pounds to begin with. So just, it was devastating to her. And she said that she had gotten this disease a couple months after her marriage when she was, you know, a newlywed. And I was thinking about it and I'm like, I wonder if she went on the birth control pill right after she got married and this kind of kicked everything off. So I actually private messaged her and I said, did you by any chance go on the birth control pill around the same time that all your problems with this irritable bowel disease started? And she said, yes. And she said when I believe she had been to Mayo Clinic, she put 2 and 2 together and found out that when you were on the birth control pill, you have a 40% chance higher, a 40% chance more than normal women of getting irritable bowel syndrome or irritable bowel disease. And I'm going to link, I actually have a couple links showing the correlation between the birth control pill and Crohn's disease, irritable bowel syndrome. So it definitely wreaks havoc on your digestive system. Of course, none of the doctors told her this. She said, I know 100% for a fact that that is what kicked off all my problems. And if I would never have gone on the pill, I probably never would have gotten this. So, you know, pray for her. I'm not going to say her name, but she is very special to me. I'm praying that she's able to fix it through diet and things like that. But she finally got out of the hospital a few days ago, but she's been really, really sick. So she knows that the birth control kicked that off. And I'm like, you know, no one told her this. No one warned her of the effects of this. And I mainly don't like it because of the abortifacient things that it can do. You know, I just firmly believe that anything that can cause an abortion of a newly fertilized egg is murder, and you have blood on your hands if you willingly take part in that. So I have always stayed away from it because of that main reason. But not only does it have the abortion aspect to it, it causes so many health problems. And we're going to see that as we get into the talk. So yes, Haley, I will. I kind of thought, should I, let's remove that. You can, there you go. You can email me and I will email it to you. So, okay. So right now, you know, I just kind of wanted to go into why I'm doing this, obviously because of the story of my friend, but you know, older women are not warning younger women about this. Doctors won't tell you this stuff. It's just, you know, they just go to it all the time. I've had doctors try to talk me into tubal ligations. I've had doctors try to talk me into going on the pill. I've had doctors try to talk me into the patch, the IUD, and no, not interested, thank you. So, you know, I'm going to be going over the main hormonal types of birth control that there are, from the pill to the patch to the IUD. And I'm going to be reading their descriptions. I have all the links right to the package inserts where it tells the mechanism of what it does to, you know, prevent you from getting pregnant. It's all right there. If anyone would just take time to Google for 5 minutes, there is just so much that comes up about this subject. So, you know, while this might not be the most interesting show, I believe it's one of the most important ones that I've done because I feel so strongly about this. I know of pastors that I used to be close to, near and dear to, who were important to me in my life. And I know of them in their counseling sessions with engaged couples, recommending the girl, which I don't even know why pastors doing this anyways, but that's beside the point, recommending the girl to go on the pill before she gets married. The girl does. He tells them, wait a year or two, go on the pill, you know, wait a year or two before getting pregnant. So she does. She's on the pill 2 or 3 years. She goes off the pill when they finally decide they're ready to start a family, and she can't get pregnant. And she wonders why. I'll tell you why, because the pill is wreaking havoc on women's bodies. And I believe it is destroying women from the inside out. It is disrupting our hormones. It is disrupting our digestive systems. It is disrupting our everything. It's disrupting it all. So this is very, very important to me. And I really want this to get out. And I agree, 6 million. They just put the verses about, you know, lo, children are an heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. And it is his reward. So as women, when we choose to take a pill that can either kill that life, or we take a pill to prevent that life, or we even use barrier methods, which I'll get into later, you know, we're choosing to not accept the reward that comes from God. So, you know, you can have a different opinion than me on this. That's fine, especially when it comes to barrier methods. Every couple has to make that choice for themselves. But when it comes to birth control that aborts a fertilized egg, you're wrong. And there is no gray area for me when it comes to this. If you are willingly taking part in something that you know can kill a fertilized egg, which most of us here, we're Christian women, we believe that life begins at conception. And the minute that sperm joins the egg, that is a soul, that is a life. And if you willingly take part in something where you are killing that, you have blood on your hands. Now, I do believe there's a difference between doing something in ignorance and doing something willfully. And that's why I want the show to get out there, because I don't think a lot of women know whether or not I think a lot of them are genuinely innocently ignorant. And that's why I want this to get out there. And I hope it opens their eyes and they rethink hormonal birth control. And, you know, at least they'll have the truth. They'll have the truth right before them. So when I think of every month, the babies that are getting murdered by women that don't even have a clue what they're doing, it just breaks my heart. It breaks my heart that women don't know. And so if you are not pro-life, if you think that, you know, life does not begin at conception in the show, it won't matter to you. But if you genuinely are trying to serve the Lord and you genuinely have a heart for knowing what his will is, I believe his will is not that you murder your babies every month, whether you know it or not. So, you know, I don't care if you leave a comment disagreeing with me. I am fine. I'm not a millennial. I don't mind when people disagree with me. The things that get the comments that set me off the most in the responses are the hyper spiritual, holier than thou, you know, condescending comments. And you know, I've been open about my faults on the show. So if you get on here and you leave comments trying to elevate yourself as the spiritual guru, we all know that you're not. We all have faults. We all stumble. We all have areas that we struggle in. So those are the comments that set me off. If you do disagree with me, feel free to leave. I am fine. I can respond in a, you know, tactful, polite way. So, but anyways, let's get into it. Okay. Yes, it does cause cancer. I'm going to get into that too. Okay. So let's get into the way that birth control works. First of all, I'm going to go to screen share now. You're not going to see me. You're going to see my screen. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen right here. All right. So here, over here is my screen. If I can get it over here. Let's see. Get all the way, Zoom. Okay. We're going to go to this article first. Okay. And this is an article right here. This is the package insert. You can see right here. This is the package insert for ortho tricycline tablets. Okay. And that was really the only one. I don't know a lot of the birth control names. I'm not like up to date on those. I just typed in birth control pills, and this is one of the main ones that came up. So I want to go down here to the clinical pharmacology, however you say that. And I'm not going to be able to pronounce a lot of these words, so I'm not a doctor. Combination oral contraceptives act by suppression of gonadotropins. Although the primary mechanism of this action is inhibition of ovulation, other alterations include changes in the cervical mucus, which increase the difficulty of sperm entering to the uterus. Okay. So inhibition of ovulation, making the sperm harder to get in the uterus, not a big deal if it does prevent these. But this is the kicker right here. And the endometrium, which reduce the likelihood of implantation. So if you see, and then if you also Google breakthrough ovulation while on the birth control pill, you're going to find out that there is much breakthrough ovulation. And this is where right here, you're aborting a fertilized egg right here. So I wanted to show you that. Also, we got the patch. Okay, this is from the patch right here. This is Ortho Evra. I don't even know what that is, but this is for the patch where you wear, I guess. You wear the patch. And once again, down here on the, I had it on the spot. I did it up. Oh, let's see if I can find it. I wrote it down, but the way that this works is NGMN is the active progesterone largely responsible for the progestational activity that occurs in women following application of whatever the patch is. They act, you know, combination of hormonal contraceptives act by suppression of gonadotropins. Although the primary mechanism of this action is inhibition of ovulation, other alterations include changes in the cervical mucus, which increase the difficulty of sperm entering to the uterus, and the endometrium, which reduce the likelihood of implantation. So once again, there it is right there. You have the chance of aborting a fertilized egg once again on this one. And this is the patch. So let's go to the, okay, this is the IUD, the vaginal IUD. Okay, and we're going to go to mechanism of action. This one, the only thing I could really find, it did not ever have in the insert that it prevented an egg from attaching to the endometrium, but it said it lowers the risk of becoming pregnant primarily by suppressing ovulation. This one did not say what the other mechanisms of preventing pregnancy was. So I'm not sold on this, that, you know, and then I looked up hormonal IUDs right here on the Wikipedia. And this says the copper IUD is different than the hormone-based. Okay, the hormone-based, it was saying over here that the main, I mean, look at all these side effects. This is just ridiculous. Look at all these side effects to this. I'm not even into the side effects yet. I'm just into what it does. Look at that huge, long list. Then we have cancer. Oh my goodness. So just the insertion and the removal creeps me out of this. I'm just going to be honest with you. Mechanisms of action. It says that ovulation is not inhibited. It says numerous studies have demonstrated that IUDs primarily prevent fertilization, not implantation. In one experiment involving tubal flushing, fertilized eggs were found in half of women not using contraception, but no fertilized eggs were found in women using IUDs. IUDs also decrease the risk of ectopic pregnancy, which further implies that IUDs prevent fertilization. So everything I found about this one said that the primary function was inhibiting ovulation, but, you know, then it said down there that ovulation is not inhibited. So, you know, just take it with a grain of salt. Okay, so here's the Paragard, the intrauterine copper contraceptive. This one is really bad. This one pretty much, look at I'm going to look over here. This one, the mechanism, let's find the mechanism. This one is, oh, let me see, over here. All these right here, all of this is risks. All of these are risks right there. Oh, it's just crazy. Mechanism of action. Copper continually released into the uterine cavity. Copper, you're releasing copper into your uterine activity. Doesn't anyone not see the problem with that? Contributes to the contraceptive effectiveness of Paragard. Mechanisms by which copper enhances contraceptive efficiency include interference with sperm transport and fertilization of an egg, and possibly prevention of implantation. So there it is. Once again, there are your main things, the main mechanisms that hormonal birth control does. And I read it right. These are all the inserts right from the thing. I'm going to stop screen share now. Actually, just to check comments, I'm going to stop the share. Okay, so there you have a bunch of different things. Okay, so I'm going to go down here and look at comments. So it's pretty undeniable that if you don't think that any of these hormonal birth controls, you're not taking the risk of aborting a fertilized egg, then you just have your head in the sand, and you're not reading, you're not doing any research, you're not looking up the inserts. Those were the actual inserts from the things. So I'm going to go back up. Wow, there's a lot. Ooh, there's a lot of comments. I'm sorry if I missed your comments. I'm not going to be able to get through all of them probably. So Amanda said period can be regulated with proper nutrition. The pill will cause more harm than good. And I did get a question from someone asking what I thought of going on the pill if you're single, there's no man in sight, you're done having kids, you're having horrible periods. And I really recommended that first you try to just straighten that out with diet and exercise. That will do amazing things. Also, there are supplements you can take. I've even heard of teen girls having problems with having a regular cycle and starting on progesterone cream every day. And progesterone really helps level their hormones, and then they go on to have regular cycles. But if they start missing the progesterone, then they go back to their cycles just all over the place. So that's something too that you can research and really look into. There are just so many side effects to all these pills and hormones and things going on in your body. I mean, face it, God made us women. We have estrogen versus the testosterone of the men. And we have a lot of hormones. We have monthly cycles. We have highs and lows to the month. And we already have enough time not going psycho with everything going on in our lives and our hormones going crazy, especially after having a baby. You have women that are having a baby and they're already struggling with postpartum depression. Their doctor recommends they go on mini pill if they're breastfeeding, or a regular pill if they're not. And then all of a sudden they're depressed and it just gets worse. And that is depression is directly linked to the pill as well. And I'm going to go over all of the different side effects right now. I have a lot more windows open if I can even remember where I was. So let me see. I have heard so many doctors like Shara said, the pill controls your cycle. And as soon as you stop, it messes your cycles up more. But the thing is, it's not really controlling your cycle. Your body is reacting to the hormones. And the reason that you even have a period, it's not a true period most of the time. It's because you're taking those hormones away. And then that's when you have, your cycle. So it's not even technically a true period. A true period comes because a woman has the luteal phase and, she has the time where she ovulates, and then 2 weeks later, if there is no egg that is fertilized, then her uterine gets rid of the lining. But when you're putting all those hormones in your body, you're tricking your body. And that's why a lot of women, when they go on the pill, they will get very nauseous, migraines, headaches, because it's mimicking pregnancy. It's tricking their body into thinking they're pregnant. And then when you take those hormones away, then you have a period. But it's not, it's just your body reacting. It thinks it's no longer pregnant. So you can see how, how crazy your hormones are when you are pregnant. So yes, I'm glad that the conception supplement that I recommended helped you. I also know it helped one of the ladies in our church, and she's now pregnant. So I'm super happy about that. I can't say enough good things about the conception pill. So, the arm implant, that was a lot of the that copper IUD. Yes, and that works the same way. On the progesterone mini pill, I've heard with the progesterone mini pill that the main mechanism of that is thickening the cervical mucus and also inhibiting ovulation. But the mini pill is actually, I researched the mini pill too. The mini pill is actually one of the worst for breakthrough ovulation. So because it's a lower dose of hormones and it's only one. I know there's progesterone and estrogen, I believe, progestin and estrogen in combination pills, but the mini pill only has one because I think it's safe for breastfeeding moms. I did not really research the mini pill, so I'm not totally up to date on that, but I do know that the mini pill does have a higher chance of breakthrough ovulation. So once again, it will use the third mechanism, which is just making the uterine lining hostile to that. So, okay, so I just have so much to go over. I'm going to go back to screen share and I'm going to start sharing some more things here. Okay, so here we had, what one was this? Okay, this is the first one I wanted to show you. There is recent oral contraceptive use by formulation and breast cancer risk among women 20 to 49 years of age. Basically, there is a higher chance for breast cancer. And this is done by Cancer Research. Here's the link. I'm not going to read the whole article just because I have a lot of other testimonials to read and things. But here is an article that I can send you, once again, all about oral contraceptive use and breast cancer risk. There is an increased chance of breast cancer. Now, most of the doctors and most of the people pushing the pills will tell you, oh, it's so slight, it's not really a big deal. But you know what? The world that we live in, we already have to be mindful with just how horrible our food is. We already have to be mindful of any risk. So why would you put something else into your body that's going to make that risk higher? Here we have an article about depression as a side effect of the contraceptive pill. It says millions of women worldwide use the combined oral contraceptive pill as an effective form of contraception. However, the focus on its side effects to date has mainly been on physical aspects, even though the most commonly stated reason for discontinuation is depression. There are surprisingly few large studies investigating depression related to oral contraceptive use. A pilot study was conducted showing that women using the combined oral contraceptive pill were significantly more depressed than a matched group who were not. More research is needed to better inform women and doctors about depression related to oral contraceptive use, and clinical guidelines are needed regarding the different types of oral contraceptives and their potential depressogenic properties. So that is basically saying we need to do more studies, and they probably don't want to do the studies, because if that was solid, then more women would not be on the pill that are already struggling with depression. If you go to this PubMed.gov, it's U.S. National Library of Medicine, National Institutes of Health, and you just type in side effects related to the birth control pill. There's a lot that will come up. Oral, transdermal, and vaginal combined contraceptives induce an increase in markers of chronic inflammation and impair insulin sensitivity in young, healthy, normal weight women, a randomized study. Okay, so this is just talking about chronic inflammation. It's talking about increased levels of circulating inflammatory markers, whereas the metabolic effects of transdermal and vaginal CCs, contraceptives, have been reported to be minimal. This is the first study comparing 3 different administration routes of CCs on metabolic variables. It just gives all of the studies that were done about this. And it did say, although the long-term consequences of the present results remained undetermined, these findings emphasize the importance of monitoring glucose metabolism during the use of, of the contraceptives, especially in women with known risk of type 2 diabetes or cardiovascular diseases. So it does increase, the cardiovascular disease. And here's another one: effect of vitamin E and C supplements on lipid peroxidation and GSH-dependent antioxidant enzyme status in the blood of women consuming oral contraceptives. So it was a study on, they were saying these data suggest that low dose OCs, by enhancing the stress oxidative and lipid paradox, try saying that word fast, may represent a potential cardiovascular risk factor. And the use of vitamins E and C may be beneficial in basically getting rid of the side effects of those. So once again, cardiovascular right here. Here we have, I wanted to talk about healing. This is a really, really good website to look at. This is called Sassy Holistics. And this has the huge risks of hormonal birth control right here. And why is there no informed consent with birth control use? Do you realize that birth control is a major pharmaceutical drug? There are major side effects, major. I mean, any of these, if you look at any of these side effects on these things, especially, where was the one? This one, there's just so many side effects, just side effect after side effect after side effect of this. Oh, my thing's not working. There we go. So many adverse reactions. So many adverse reactions right here: headache, nausea, vomiting, vaginal candidus, abdominal pain. I mean, all these. There's so many side effects to this. So why is birth control not being more regulated? There's so many adverse reactions. So this is, there's the gastrointestinal. But yeah, here it's talking about why this article, why the birth control pill screws up hormones and what to use instead. Okay, if you really can't get pregnant, there's always natural family planning you can do. Once again, I'll get into that in a little bit. You are deciding to forego God's blessing with children when it comes to natural family planning, but you're not murdering your child when you do natural family planning. There have been times in my life where I've had to do this because of being on certain medications and knowing that if I was to get pregnant, I could potentially abort my baby because of the medication I was on. And obviously, that was not an option for me. So I do not believe there's not anything morally wrong with doing barrier methods or a natural family planning method where you are not aborting a fertilized egg. I do believe that you are foregoing God's blessings, but I do not see anything morally wrong with it. But this article is really good. It has a lot of different articles about birth control side effects, ruining your life. Huge study links birth control to depression. If you're trying to get pregnant, 5 surprising things that can stop ovulation and impair fertility. How to start using natural family birth control, which I would not usually recommend, but natural alternatives to hormonal contraception. So just a bunch of stuff on this article is really good. But back to this one, it has a lot of different articles on this. Healing from a copper imbalance. If you've had the copper IUD, there's an article here about healing from that. There's also an article about postpartum depression, finding breastfeeding support. This is a good, so this Fasty Holistics is really good. Now, here's another one. Another cardiovascular disease. Effects of low-dose contraceptive pills on the risk factors of cardiovascular diseases among 15 to 35-year-old women. It's a big study about it, telling what they found. This backs up the claims of my friend that I was telling you about at the beginning, association between long-term oral contraceptive use and risk of Crohn's disease complications in a nationwide study. And basically, they did find that you are at a higher risk to develop Crohn's disease or digestive problems when you were on the pill. Here's another one about gastrointestinal disease and oral contraception. So, if my friend would have known about that, then, I think her outcome would be different right now. She wouldn't have been battling 2 weeks in the hospital, a horrible, painful disease while someone else had to take care of her 6-month-old. So that's one of the reasons I'm doing this. So let me read some of the comments. There's a lot. Jasmine said, if you look at the first IUD to be released to the public, it caused many people to have blood infections. If it didn't give you a blood infection, you would have a 24/7 infection in your uterus. And, that's one of the things I read about the copper IUD is that it's releasing copper directly to your uterus. So you're just releasing this foreign matter into your uterus to inflame it. That is not healthy at all. So I have a lot of stories, Haley, of girls that have gone on the pill from the time they were 10, 12, and years later, now they're married and they're longing for children and they know it's messed them up and they know it's messed their hormones up. And they're trying everything desperately to get back to having their body function the way that God made it. And it's devastating to them when they find out the effects of birth control and everything that it did to their body and everything that they're still suffering because of it. So let me actually go to some of my emails that I've gotten from women. I have a lot, but I also wanted to read what what an abortifacient is, okay? So basically it's just, that's an adjective and it means it causes abortion, okay? So it's a drug or a device used to cause abortion or even a biochemical abortifacient in pill form. Okay, so it can be, an abortifacient can be in a pill form. So, we believe that life begins at conception. I know most of you would agree with me. And if life begins at conception and you're taking something that can expel that life, then, that would be an abortifacient. So I can't even think of any hormonal birth control that, if anyone knows, leave it in the comments, but I can't even think of any that have the mechanism of not aborting. Everything I looked up, almost everything, like I said, except for the vaginal one, it didn't say, but it said that it was primarily, the primary use was inhibiting ovulation. But then it said another part, it did not inhibit ovulation all the time. So then what's the other mechanism? Obviously, you know what that is. They just didn't put it in writing, I guess. So let's get into some of the emails that I got. I told you the story of my friends who got the Crohn's disease from it. So I have a really, really long email. I'm kind of just going to skip around in it. I'm not going to mention names, but she said she became when she turned 15 years old, she became sexually active with her boyfriend. They always used protection and tried to be safe, but upon her grandparents raised her. When they discovered this, she was forced onto the pill. Even then, in all of her ignorance and naivety, I was not okay with synthetically altering my hormones and reproductive system in such a crucial stage of physical, hormonal, and mental development. I'm talking in her words now. At my first gynecological appointment, I was not asked medical history and was indoctrinated into the ideology of supporting abortion. I was given a prescription that was contradicted for both my personal and family medical history. I personally suffered from migraines, had a family medical history that included blood clotting issues, heart issues, and blood pressure issues. So she had all of these issues, things that on the insert tells you if you have this, and this, don't take. So she had all of these, okay? My prescription was handed to me by my grandmother every morning to make sure I took it, which was both humiliating and infantilizing. I still can't even really go into detail about how it made me feel because I don't have the words to describe it. Not to mention, I don't really like to think back on it. So this is kind of, let's see. All right. Hiding a troll, thank you. So, you know, this is very hard for her to look back on a time of her life because, you know, she doesn't like thinking about it. So before even finishing the first pack, I began to experience negative effects of the synthetic hormones. I began experiencing nausea. I was tired all the time, and my migraines greatly increased from 2 to 3 a month to experiencing 2 to 3 a week that lasted several days. As I continued to be on the pill, the symptoms worsened on both intensity and accompanying symptoms. At my next gynecological appointment 6 months later, I informed the doctor I didn't want to be on birth control anymore. She asked me why, and I insisted I didn't have a choice. So remember, she's 15, 16 years old here, okay? As I continued to be on the pill, the symptoms worsened. When I told her I suffered from migraines, and she actually asked about my family history, she informed me that I should have never been on the full dose pill. Thanks, doc. She told me I had to be on the pill, but not the first pill, and gave me a prescription for the mini pill. Then she said, my life turned to hell at this point. My periods, you know, they're not really periods if not you're ovulating, and she said that too, became excruciating. Nausea, vomiting, and passing out from the pain in my cramps became a new normal for me. I gained weight, going from athletic 108 pounds at 5'2" to gaining nearly 80 pounds in a matter of months. I became suicidal, depressed, and was constantly in a fit of rage. My anxiety went through the roof. By the middle of my senior year, I dropped out of high school shortly before turning 18. I couldn't handle being around my peers. I couldn't handle being myself, and I couldn't focus on schoolwork. That's a really sad story. I continued to be on the mini pill until I turned 20. I never added any of it up to being the pill until around that time. By then, my migraines were debilitating. My depression was out of control, and I was not myself. My periods continued to be so severe, I couldn't go to work as a waitress, both because I risked passing out on the job and I was soaking through tampons within an hour. I began growing an extreme amount of body hair. This is another side effect I didn't even get into. None of us ladies want to be hairy like a man. This is one of the side effects. You get a lot of body hair from it. And that's in the list of side effects on most of it, that can be one of the adverse reactions. So it was on my chest, my belly, my neck, my face, and the rest of my body hair became extremely dark and thick. After stopping the pill, I continued to be sexually active without using protection. I'm still dumbfounded how I didn't contract an STD or become pregnant. So now she's almost 28. She's been off the pill for nearly 8 years. She'll be married to her husband for 4 years in February. Together, they miraculously have 2 beautiful daughters who they got pregnant with right away. One turned 3, one just turned 3, the other is 1.5. Upon stopping the pill, she dropped nearly all of her excess weight, and she went down to 120 pounds just from being on it. And that is, weight gain is a huge side effect. Her periods began to be much better when she had her first postpartum one after her daughter. They're hardly noticeable, but she does struggle with intense migraines in the last days of her luteal phase of her cycle, and a migraine that has basically been nonstop for the entire first half of both pregnancies. And she still also struggles with thick all over body hair that she has to shave daily. She's had blood panels drawn by all sorts of doctors, both holistic, who have a vast understanding of hormones, and conventional doctors. Nobody can explain why her periods are so awful, why she has migraines, or why she has body hair that's thicker than her husband's. Through her own research, she's concluded that she's sensitive or intolerant to her own progesterone. There isn't a whole lot out there on women who suffer from this. So at this point, she's kind of hit a wall, but she suspects it's much like people who become dependent or suffer problems from melatonin, Pitocin, antidepressants, and being artificially boosted with feel-good hormones, like in the case of drug addicts. In her case, her body thought it was making enough of her hormones since it was being flooded with synthetic ones early in puberty. And I can't stress enough, I feel so sorry for the girls that are just hitting puberty. They're new to all these hormones and they're new to the emotions and everything that comes with it. And their parents put them on birth control pills. That's so debilitating to their puberty, to their growth, to just becoming a normal, functioning adult. So, please, please, please keep your girls off of that. They're pushing it in the schools. Girls can get birth control pills now without the consent of their parents. They can get, prescription drugs. These are prescription drugs. And with any prescription drug comes a price, and you have to weigh the pros and cons of it. And obviously, this is just horrible, horrible, horrible cons. I can't think of one pro to it. I did get an email from a lady saying that she had severe acne. And so her doctor put her on the pill. It cleared it up. And she was like, this is great. But then when she wanted to get pregnant, she went off and suddenly all her skin problems came back and then more. Her body had gotten used to that hormone. And when she took it away, it had a huge flare up. And she still deals with it to this day. So, most teenagers, I had acne pretty bad growing up. I always wore makeup to kind of help cover it because I was self-conscious about it. But once I got married and started having children, it just eventually went away. So our hormones will level and your teenagers' acne will go away. It's not worth messing up their bodies and the way that they function to give them a pill to get the acne away. It'll go away in a few years. Just, if you have girls, get them some kind of treatment for their face, let them wear makeup, foundation to cover it if it makes them feel better about it. Because, acne can be, you're very self-conscious when you have acne. So, do what you have to do to make them feel comfortable in their own skin. There's nothing wrong with that. So, but she has a lot more to her, she has a lot more to her email. Basically, she ended it by saying she's not on any type of birth control or using any type of birth control now. Her husband and her have decided to leave it in God's hand, so they're not worrying about it. They don't even use barrier methods or anything like that. So she said, to this day, my grandmother won't acknowledge how much grief the pill and how she went about it has brought me. And I'm not sure which is worse, the physical or emotional effects of having been on the pill, but the physical or emotional effects, she doesn't know which is worse. But I advocate against it. In other ways, we harm our reproductive systems constantly. We can't expect for the pharmaceuticals, medical devices, and procedures to be beneficial in any way when it suppresses the very thing that is a huge indicator of health and how God designed our bodies to be. And I could not agree more. And fertility is a good indication of your health. I know at times when I have been very unhealthy, I have not gotten pregnant. And I think that is just God's way of telling you, you need to take care of yourself first, get yourself, get it figured out. And then, then I'll bless you with the baby. Or there were times in my life when I was super unhealthy and I've had 2 miscarriages. So I did end up miscarrying the baby. That's why when that would happen, I would really focus on eating right, getting enough water, getting enough sleep, taking care of myself, taking supplements, things like that. I would really focus on that. And then I went on to have a healthy baby after that. So I do know that a lot of times, it can affect that. So nice, Ashley. She said, my friend has a Christian OBGYN who will not even prescribe hormonal birth control to any of his patients. That's awesome if you can find a doctor like that. He realizes the risks and he doesn't have his head stuck in the sand. He knows that there's side effects. So that is really awesome. Okay, so let me get to some more of these emails. So this lady, she was put on hormonal birth control at the age of 18, related to her menstrual cycle, namely heavy flow and severe cramping. She was never informed of any risks or even given an explanation of how the patch worked. Okay, so this is the patch, another hormonal thing. I was on the patch for a little under a year before I switched to the pill. Okay. My OBGYN suggested the switch at my first consultation with her a week before getting married. She believed the pill to be more effective than the patch, so I made the switch. Again, no risks were ever explained, no explanation of how the pill worked. I did explain to her why I went on hormonal birth control in the first place. She ordered some blood work, which came back normal. I took the pill for 4 years with no issues. My cycles were regular. I had little to no PMS. After my husband and I were saved in early 2019, we decided to stop using birth control. But it has more to do with trusting the Lord than anything else. And, how could they say that they were willing to trust the Lord for salvation, not with their family size? The knowledge of how hormonal birth control actually works didn't come until several weeks later after hearing a sermon on it and doing further research. Once I realized how it actually worked, I was sickened. To think that I'd been unknowingly participating in that for years and that so many other women do the same is heartbreaking. And once again, this lady was not willfully ignorant. She was innocently ignorant. But now, now she knows. So she's taking a stand against it. I expected it to take a couple of months for my cycle to regulate after coming off the pill. It's now been 11 months. My body is still not back to normal. I've experienced crazy hormonal fluctuations that have brought with them a whole host of symptoms: near constant cramping, terrible acne, mood swings, anxiety, insomnia, night sweats, and hot flashes, to name a few. I went through several months of this before I even started making the connection between these symptoms and stopping the pill. I was never warned of any of this from conventional medical doctors, but a single Google search, for post-birth control syndrome. Look it up, post-birth control syndrome. Google is a wonderful tool. And if more women would just use Google before doing any prescription medication, they would save themselves a lot of heartache. No one explained to me at 18 years old that I might have been doing irreparable damage to my body, that I could have permanently suppressed egg production in my ovaries or create a permanently hostile womb. As of now, I'm experiencing extreme menstrual irregularity, but all tests the doctors run, I'll come back normal. I personally know one other young lady that is currently going through the same thing and is now pursuing IVF. I believe this is all part of the devil's agenda to remove the natural process of conceiving life and carrying a baby to term through methods such as IVF and abortion, as well as birth control in general. Though the physical effects are most obvious, there are also so many emotional effects that come with this: guilt, grief, anxiety, and even occasionally envy. It's not an experience I would wish on anyone, and I so wish that I could turn back the clock and never fill that first prescription. I can only pray that the Lord would use this experience for good in some way, and that maybe my experience would keep someone from going through the same thing. So I wanted to read most of her email because, she is experiencing a lot of the mental, emotional side effects of that, and knowing that, maybe I have done irreparable damage to my body. So I'm sorry for that, and I really hope that you get pregnant very, very soon. Someone sent me an email asking me about, wondering if it causes cancer, and there are studies. It does increase the chance of cancer. So, and then, this lady emailed me. She had anemia and she went on birth control. And she said the effects of birth control combined with anemia are nothing to mess with. Constant fatigue, dizziness, feeling faint, headaches, even diet and supplements could not stop the effects of birth control. She was only on it for 2 months, and she'll never go on it again. So she said she was only on it for 2 months. Let me go down here. Okay, I know I had some more. Okay, let me go look at my inbox. I have some more in here. I want to make sure that I get to all of them. I had one more story. One more. Where is it? I wonder if it was sent to my other email address. I'm going to go search for it real quick. Just a minute. Sorry about that. Well, I had another email, and you'll know who you are if you're watching. I know you're watching. So I had another email from someone about the same subject. I'm not finding it. But she had 2 stories on there. She basically had a story about, oh, here we go. I got it. She has a friend that was on it. I'm going to just go over this. I'm really, really running out of time. So I'll try to go through this quickly. So her friend went to a free clinic available to girls from age 16 and up. You don't need parental consent. So she was dating. She decided with him that she should go on the birth control pill. She wasn't told much information. She was told all the great things it could do, like she could even skip the periods, just keep taking the pills, skip a period. So she admits now she was too immature to understand or realize how many changes her bodies went through while being on the pill. She was never denied pills, even when she missed her appointments or exams. So fast forward to the age of 32, she met the love of her life and finally got married. Ever since she was a little girl, she dreamed of getting married and having many children. She was under the impression she could simply stop taking the pill and she would be able to conceive. So she stopped taking the pill 6 months before the wedding and found herself struggling to even have a normal cycle, let alone get pregnant. Her mental and physical state were erratic. It was then that she was told for the first time that birth control pills could be the reason she was not able to conceive. After taking the pill for 16 years, she was never told of the risks that she could potentially ruin her chances to conceive. The pill caused her body much damage, and she was not even ovulating for months in a row. For her, she was able to see a natural doctor and heal her body with nutrition. She was able to get her cycles and hormones back on track, but met many women who were not ever able to repair the damage caused by the pill. Finally, at the age of 36, she got pregnant with twins naturally. It took her over 4 years to be able to get pregnant, and it was confirmed by her doctor that the pill was why she struggled with her fertility. She cannot believe that in the 16 years she has been given the birth control pill, she was never once told about the potential risks involved, only the positive things offered by the drug. Many people say it's written in the inserts, but as true as that is, many don't think to read those, and they don't. That's why I'm reading those. They expect their doctors to inform them of those very serious risks. So they have a healthy, beautiful little boy and little girl now. So I am really glad that that turned out okay. But then her story was she was put on the pill around age 11, 12. Oh, that's heartbreaking. As soon as she got her first period, she drove her to the doctor's office and had her put on it as a means to prevent pregnancy. At 11 or 12, she was very confused, and she was a child at the time. She never even thought about sleeping with anyone. But her mom said to her that though she did not condone her having sex, that she wasn't about to become a grandma if she went out and did something stupid like that and wound up pregnant. So her doctor didn't even hesitate. It was an uncomfortable appointment, obviously at 11 or 12. And she was asked questions she felt way too young to be even thinking about. Looking back now, it was the process of being given the pill and forced to talk about what I thought to be adult stuff that caused me to be curious about it. I was never warned about any negative effects or how this could cause damage to my fertility. I was made to feel special, like I was a woman now. It really made me feel like even though my mom was saying she wasn't saying I could go out and sleep with people, like I could, and I wouldn't have any repercussions. I learned about STDs in school, but they most definitely were not talked about on that day. So she was not responsible when taking it. She'd missed 2 days, then end up taking them all in one day to catch up. No one told her about the dangers. Her hormones were already erratic. She was a young woman who started her cycle, but add the pill to the mix, and there was a very obvious change. It was blamed on depression, angst, and I was put on more medication. So now with the side effects, now more medication comes along with that. She said, for as long as I can remember, I've wanted 10 kids. I don't know where or why that started, but it's always been in my heart. And I always just assumed I would have 10 kids. I assumed when I got married, I'd just stop the pill and have babies. I mean, that's how I was told it would work by her doctor. Doctors don't lie, right? So yeah, from the moment her husband and her met, we knew that was it. Things moved quickly. We were engaged and married within a year meeting. I immediately stopped taking the pill, even though we weren't planning to conceive. We were just leaving it open. We were open to it happening when it was meant to happen. We weren't saved at that point in their marriage. After 4 years passed, she started to wonder what was happening. And that's when something happened that caused her to see her OBGYN. I went to have one thing checked and found out something very serious and unexpected. They found cancerous cells. She was quickly sent for an exam to see if there was something there. There was, and a biopsy was taken. She had an aggressive cancer in her uterus, which is not unheard of for someone of my age, but incredibly rare. I wasn't even 30 years old yet, and I had uterine cancer. She doesn't think she'll ever be able to say for sure what caused this, but she can with all certainty say the pill had a hand in this. I would say so. If you started the pill at 11 or 12, that's crazy. Like my cousin, I was taught by my doctor I could just use the pill to skip her period. And I did just that at least a few times a year. After many trials and a lot of prayer, I'm now cancer-free. It took another 3 years and a lot of heartache before we finally conceived our son. Even after being told by 4 specialists I'd never be able to have children, after almost going through with a hysterectomy, our beautiful boy was born, praise the Lord. So her son is now 3 years old, and of course he fills her heart with joy, but she still longs for more children. She wanted 10, remember? I've had 2 miscarriages since, and I can't help but think that 13 years straight of being on the birth control pill plays a major role in this. My body was never able to develop naturally without chemically induced hormones. What breaks my heart even more is having to wonder how many more children I've lost without even knowing about it. And all those years of being on the pill, it was not until after I stopped taking them I learned that these pills do not just prevent pregnancy, they terminate pregnancy. And that is a very heartbreaking story. And she is my friend, and I am praying and praying that she goes on to have many more healthy children. So, but you'll never use, that's years and years of being on the birth control pill. It's having the birth control pill mess with everything in your body, your uterine lining, everything. So, what did Amy say about, let me see. I'm sorry. I've been skipping all your guys's. I'm trying to get all this in. Amy said, there are homeopathic detoxes specifically for detoxing the pill. I've been looking up if anyone is interested. And if you send those to me, Amy, I'll link them on my Facebook, or I'll link them under this. I'll try to link all of this in the description. So I know the stories are sad. I feel badly, but I feel like the older generation has let a lot of women down. And that's why I'm trying to be the voice for this generation. I'm trying to be the voice for, as I'm nearing my 40s, I'm not going to have many childbearing years left. So I need to be the voice for the 20-year-olds that are just now starting families, and the teenagers that are starting their cycles. Maybe they have parents that think they're doing a good thing, so they go get them on the pill. I'm trying to be the voice for all of those young ladies that don't know any better and have never been told this. And it could negatively affect the rest of their lives, them going on some type of hormone. Luckily, I had a mom. By the grace of God, there go I, right? Luckily, I had a mom that was very into natural living, and her mantra and my husband's dad's mantra was, if you're not old enough to have a child, you're not old enough to get married. So from the first day that we got married, we didn't try to prevent at all. We had our first baby, 9 months to the day. We were married April 20th, and our firstborn was born January 20th, 9 months to the day that we got married. So we had the philosophy that we were eagerly awaiting children. So luckily, I never did any of the hormonal things. I think that was probably why I was so fertile. In my younger years, I was very, very fertile. As I get older, I'm noticing a dip in my fertility just because of age and things. But when I was younger, obviously, we had, 3 kids, 3 and under at one time. So Haley said, I am a little afraid to tell my story live on the air. Yes, you can email me and ask your opinion. Please email me. If you guys have any questions and ask my opinion, I'll try my best. I don't know everything, but I have strong convictions when it comes to this topic. So yes, email me at gentlyledsisters@gmail.com. You can ask me your opinion. Oh, cool. We share a birthday and anniversary together. So, 6 million. I will pray that you get pregnant. 2 months is not very long. So don't give up hope. It'll probably happen very, very soon. Yes, I know that you've been struggling with it. So yeah. And if you were on at 20, I've heard, I don't know if this is true because I don't want to devastate you, but I have heard that for however long you're on the pill, that's how long it takes for the side effects and for it to get out of your body. And 20 years is a long time though. So, but that's just the thing. If women are on the pill for years after years after years, they're not going to go off of it right away and just instantly be back to normal. It takes a long time for this medication. I also had a friend, she said her husband worked with plasma or something, people donating plasma. And he noticed a difference in the women that were on birth control pills. It was almost like their plasma was green compared to the women that were not, that had normal plasma. That's crazy. So it does. I mean, I showed you this, the cardiovascular is very involved in side effects from the pill. It affects the blood. It's in the bloodstream. I have also heard of studies done where women flushing birth control pills is causing it to get into the waterways, and it's affecting animal life and nature and all sorts of things. So it's crazy. But I wanted to show you one more thing about, I wanted to touch on tubal ligation. I did have someone ask me about tubal ligation. I have strong opinions about this as well. But for me personally, I don't ever want to do something permanent. And my opinion is just, if it's not broken, if it's not broken, don't break it. And I feel like that is. So let me show you this. There is something called post-tubal ligation syndrome. I know personally of a couple women that have had tubal ligations, and let's just put aside the regret from it of doing something permanent, where a lot of women have regrets from doing this. Let's just get into the physical aspects of it. There are a lot of symptoms: hot flashes, chronic fatigue, irregular heavy periods, loss of libido, increased depression and or anxiety, achy sore joints, weight gain, memory lapse, pelvic pain, increased headaches. They've also been linked, this is just crazy, look at all this stuff. It has also been linked with other medical issues, which include castrative menopause, I don't even know what that is, ovarian isolation, nor that, imbalances of hormones or hormone shock, dysfunctional uterine bleeding, increased risk of heart disease, severe pelvic adhesions, bone loss, osteoporosis, misplacement of female organs. My stars, misplacement of female organs. Treatment for PTLS consists of tubal ligation reversal. A majority of patients that have had a reversal have felt an improvement in their overall health and well-being. The exact mechanism of action that improves these symptoms is unknown. Well, I think just because you're putting back what you broke. So this is just an article that I looked up. If you look up things though, it's all over. It's all over the internet. Lots of women experiencing this. I personally know of women that have had this, friends, family, and they have horribly painful periods. So, there are definite side effects to that. But I wanted to mention, okay, because, let's say that you have and you regret it, and I have friends that have had it and they regret it. It's important that you just come to the point where you realize it's done. You did it, you regret it, it's done. You can't live in regret for the rest of your life. God still has a plan for you, and God still can use you. God can use you, number one, to tell your story, to warn other women about the risks associated with it, to warn other women about the regret that comes from having it, to warn your children, train your children, tell them, train them that they're a blessing, and to try to be open to all of God's blessings that he brings, and the reward, the fruit of the womb is his reward. So, don't ever just wallow in guilt or feel like you're not as important as other women because, they have their fertility and you don't. Fertility does not make you important as a woman. There's some women that are so special and they've never been able to bear children. And they are just godly servants of the Lord. They find ways to help. They're a blessing. So don't ever think that you're any less of a woman because you're not able to bear children, or because you did things in the past that you regret. We all do things in the past that we regret. God can forgive you. Ask for forgiveness. Move on and just be a blessing to whoever you come in contact with. God's not done using you. Don't live your life in regret. Have victory over that. Realize, say, I messed up. I shouldn't have done it, but God can use me and God has a plan for you. So, I wanted to say that because there's a lot of women that have so much regret. It's like it's debilitating to them. You know, they're just crushed under this load of guilt all the time, and they're never able to break free. And I want every woman to experience joy and happiness and not to be under a fog of depression all the time. So just realize that God, while I'm talking about this because I want women to know the risks, I don't look down on women that have had this done. It is a personal choice that them and their husbands had to make. I don't beat up women that have made different choices than me. You know, I'm going to love them. And, you know, I know most of them do feel regret. So Amy said, look up fertility homeopath on YouTube. She has a lot of great tips for fertility as well as a homeopathic detoxes in her website. And, you know, it is crazy that your health is directly related to fertility and being able to carry children. And like I said, when I was at my unhealthiest, I wasn't able to, you know, get pregnant. But I wanted to talk about, you know, just real quick, what about barrier methods? I've had this question. You know, once again, I don't see anything morally wrong with these. You're not aborting a fertilized egg. You are, however, denying God's blessings. You're closing yourself off to more children from him. And why? You know, you have to ask yourself why. Is it because of money reasons? Does your husband feel, you know, burdened with a load of responsibility? Now, I would say that your husband needs to be on board if you have decided to accept all of God's blessings. He needs to be on board, and he needs to be 100% willing to take on that responsibility, because he will be carrying the brunt of the responsibility, as will you, because you will be staying home and raising them. But, you know, is it because of money reasons? Are you being selfish? Do you want a bigger home? Do you want nicer cars? You know, why? What is the reasoning for not wanting more children? Just take a good, long, hard look at it and ask yourself that. You know, is it for your mental health? And here's another thing, another side note, you have to intentionally take care of yourself, your body, and your health. Okay. You are responsible for all those children, but you are responsible for yourself too. And when you decide you're going to have a large family, you need to intentionally make sure you're taking care of yourself. And that is one of the reasons I had Dawn on last week talking about physical health and exercise. It's very important for women to take care of themselves. I can't stress that enough. Drink enough water, eat healthy, go on a walk, do a run, you know, exercise every day. It'll make you feel better. It'll help your mental. It'll help your physical outlook on life. So, you know, you have to intentionally take care of yourself. And, you know, deciding to trust the Lord when it comes to having as many children as he wants you to have is a choice each husband and wife has to make on their own. No one could choose it for you, because at the end of the day, when you decide to have a large family, you are responsible. The government is not responsible for raising your children. The church is not responsible for raising your children. Other people are not responsible for raising your children. You are responsible for raising your children. You know, I believe the blessings outweigh the responsibility factor, but the truth remains, it's a huge job. It's not for the faint of heart. Being obedient to God is not always easy. Once we decide, though, obedience, you know, if obedience was easy, there wouldn't be so many admonitions in the Bible for us to be obedient. It's not easy. Look at all the times the Israelites messed up. They were constantly messing up. So it's not easy being obedient to God. It's not easy having a large family. It's not easy giving up control in different areas of your life. But everything good in life is hard. Everything good in life is hard. And that's one of my sayings. And raising good children is hard. Homeschooling is hard. Being a stay-at-home mom and wife is hard. But the blessings far outweigh the responsibility, I believe. So, you know, once you research this topic of birth control, though, I am going to say there's no going back. You can't unsee what you've seen. And that was my goal for this show, showing you all the different inserts, showing you what's listed in them, showing you the links that I had. I'll email anyone the email of this outline and all the links I had written down. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. There's no going back once you know what's in this stuff. And if you willingly take birth control without taking into account that you might be murdering precious babies each and every month, there is blood on your hands. Like I said, no gray area for me. If you know that you are aborting a fertilized egg, there's blood on your hands. And there's no way around that simple fact. So I can't put it any more bluntly than that. I feel heartbroken thinking of Christian women who have been told by people they trust, pastors, doctors, midwives, to go on some kind of hormonal birth control, and just the shock when they get to heaven and they find out about the 10 kids that were up there waiting for them because they snuffed their life out at the very, very beginning stages of life. So it's heartbreaking to me. And I'm really hoping that we can change the tide in this, at least when it comes to Baptist women. I'm not talking to the atheists, and I'm not talking to those who don't value life. I'm talking to those of us who do value life, who think that life is precious and that life begins at conception. That's who I'm talking to. And I'm hoping to make a difference in this area. So Dawn said, my friend had 4 C-sections. She was guided by her medical doctor to have a tubal ligation because they said from all the C-sections, it was too dangerous for her to carry more. I've actually read of women that have had 10, 11 C-sections, and it's one area that they've just given up to God. And some people would call that stupid and laugh at them and joke about it. But once again, obedience is never easy. So, you know, you just have to decide how obedient you're going to be. Alma said, I got acne at 16. I still get it once in a while, and I'm in her 40s. I still get it occasionally too. But on top of that, I've had the mask of pregnancy on my face. I've tried everything I could think of and can't get rid of. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you think that was directly related to the pill, or was that just something with your hormones? So, and then Kirsten said, look at how breastfeeding prevents pregnancy. It's called lactational amenorrhea, I believe. And it does work for a lot of women, not necessarily for all, because I'm living proof of that. I've gotten pregnant while nursing before. But it does, it's pretty foolproof for the first 6 months. It was not for me. I was actually breastfeeding on demand, all that, no bottles, nothing. And my 2 oldest are only 12 and a half months apart. So you do the math on that. Obviously, it did not work with that. But I was very, very young. I was 20, 21, very fertile. Like I said, no birth control in my system. So I was very, very fertile. So are there hormonal implications from a tubal ligation? Most of the things I read about was like heavier periods, very horrible cramps, things like that. But yes, I do believe, let me see, let's see with post-tubal ligation here. Hot flashes, chronic fatigue, irregular heavy periods. This is one of the main ones that I've seen. Increased depression and anxiety, achy sore joints and muscles, weight gain, memory lapse, pelvic pain, increased headaches. And yes, it has been linked to other medical issues, including castrative menopause and ovarian isolation. So I would say that that is directly linked to hormones. Yes, and imbalances of hormones or hormone shock. So yes, I would be very, very careful when it comes to that. First of all, just because it is permanent, and anything permanent, you know, just I've just never been able to, even if I thought I was done having kids and I'm like, that's it, I'm done, I'm going crazy and losing my mind, I couldn't break something that wasn't broken. You know, me or my husband, just permanent. That's, you have to keep thinking that permanent. So Amber says, I've gotten pregnant while breastfeeding every time, but each baby is giving me more time in between. My 2 youngest are 22 months apart. I think, Amber, a lot of it has to do with age. And when you're younger, you're obviously just going to be more fertile, on the more fertile end of things. So as you get older, I think you're naturally just going to have more of a space. I know I have with my kids. And then also it's harder. You know, I had 2 miscarriages back to back after Lana. So it gets harder to carry a healthy baby, I think, the older you get as well. So Gabby said, I found out that I have polycystic ovary syndrome, and it makes me sad I might not be able to have children. A negative 30% chance of getting pregnant naturally. Although I try to have faith. It makes me sad. I am sorry, Gabby. I was just going to say, I was going to have Amanda say something. She was told I would never have children to the point of specialists suggesting a hysterectomy. And she has a beautiful 3-year-old now. Pray and don't lose hope. Exactly. And Amanda is one that was told by many medical doctors she never could have them. And so she has a miracle baby now. So there is hope. Prayer works wonders. I've even, my husband has prayed over people having health problems in our church. He has done what they do in the Bible as far as just praying over them, laying hands on them. He's had the men of the church lay hands on them for their healing. So, prayer still works. Prayer still works. I would definitely get your church involved with praying for you. Get as many people as you know who will be prayer warriors for you and storm the gates of heaven to pray for you to have a baby. So, and Jessica said, it took my friend with PCOS 8 years to have a baby, but she finally had her son last February. I love hearing stories like that. If you have had any experience, negative effects with birth control that you don't mind people seeing, leave it in the comments below. Share this video. Let's get the word out about, I know it's a controversial subject, but more women need to know. They need to know about this. They need to know about the side effects. They need to know about the possibility of, aborting a baby that no one's told them about. So I am going to be signing off. Next week will be regular time. I'll see about having a guest on. And then the week after, I'm actually going to do it. I think I'm going to switch it to Tuesday night. I'm going away for my birthday, the end of January. And I would actually be doing the show on Tuesday on my birthday. We'd be going away on Monday night, though. So that was the only night that we could really fit in. So I might be changing the day that week, the week of the 28th. So stay tuned for that. I hope to have a guest on next week. I need to touch base with her. Just kind of talking about being a blessing in your church and, moving to a good IFB church if you have to. So I hope to have her on next week. Thank you, ladies, for the discussion, and share the video, like the video, comment, boost the analytics, and we'll see if we can't get the word out. All right. We will see you next week.